Critical EDH, round 1, fight. Keeping tabs.
Hell yeah.
cEDH.
I'm Logan.
I'm Eric.
And we're like 90% of the way there, recovering from whatever cold we had.
I don't know how it's still happening. We were just talking about this. I still wake up in the morning and I go outside and then I cough up phlegm for like 10 minutes. I'm like, how is it still going on?
Yeah, we're on definitely I was caught napping last night. Gold Saber wanted to play some games. I was like, I got a crew for you. And then assembled everyone. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep. So,
dude,
yeah.
Well, hang on. Even though us being sick is getting kind of old, and even though it's causing us to sleep on stuff, something new that you shouldn't sleep on, Mortal Kombat, Dave & Buster's, June 15th,
Yep.
Father's Day. You know, come out, play in Denver. You know, it's going to be a 5K event, 128 players. Slots have already started filling up.
Let's give them the rundown.
Oh, yeah. Top to bottom.
Is a collaboration between Critical EDH and Dave & Buster's. We've been working really hard with their event planning team to come up with an event and utilize their event space in a way that really benefits us and also works out really well for them. So the event is going to be a pretty traditional 5K, 128 players, platinum level top deck event, and we think it's going to sell out really fast. It's in a really good time, kind of in the middle of summer. We're still able to get top deck points for the championship series, and it's solving a lot of problems that we have found with going to these big events. We don't have to pay for parking. We get food and drink to our tables, and we don't have to leave the venue or go somewhere else. There's going to be alcohol on site, but you have to drink responsibly. And then if you crash out or if you just want to take a break, you can go play some arcade games.
Even just being there, just kind of having conversation with how do we make sure the tables have big enough gaps that people can walk through them super easily, or they have some big screens that we think we may be able to broadcast some
I think
games
big
on.
screens is an understatement.
That's true. Gigantic screens.
They're I don't know, 80 feet wide, and there's three of them. And we get access to all of this. We
were just having a fun time. We even stopped to grab some apps afterwards because we were like, if we're gonna be telling people there's food here,
oh yeah,
we need to test it ourselves. And it ended up being so good that you ordered some to go to bring it home to Emily.
Yeah, we're we normally go to Chili's. That's kind of our post game.
Yeah,
corral everybody.
The real
Chili's.
ones know.
Yeah, exactly. Get some triple dippers or 3 for me or whatever.
Yeah, you either make top 4 or you get triple dippers.
Well, sometimes both.
Maybe both if you're lucky.
But I'm sitting there eating the food. I was like, do we have another option now? Is this as good or if not better? The food is really good. So
yeah, super tasty.
We're really excited for that. But just from a technical perspective, we have access to their sound system. We can play whatever music we want. We can use it as a PA system, call out stuff to the players. We have these giant screens in which we can have a featured match up on the screen, and then hopefully we'll have the featured match in a corner so they can't actually see themselves.
Yeah.
But we're working on all those details, and we're super excited for the event. Kind of the theme of the event is arcade themed. Mortal Kombat,
the Mile High Melee. I know I'm super excited about it because as the season starts to close out, there's only so many more opportunities to get the type of points up for grabs at a platinum level event. So level 7, the store we tend to play at, is still going to be having their Saturday night tournament beforehand. So there's always a lobby con, but we already have communicated with a local game store, so odds are you'll probably be able to get a gold level event underneath your belt as well.
We're trying to work it out so that it's a nice double header. So you have the silver or gold event at night, and it's $10, and that's the Saturday night before. You wake up Sunday, you go to the big main event, and then you've got this really awesome experience to attend.
But yeah, it's super cool. We have been on such a journey this year, starting from attending tournaments to covering tournaments, to being sponsored by them, and now we are
Just hosting one.
Just hosting one. So we're super excited about it. You'll definitely hear some more from us as we continue to plan and continue to lock things in place.
Yep, we've got like a little preview video up here. That's just kind of us talking about it. Pretty much everything you just heard. But we'll have more media and more of the event up. We've got the event up on Top Deck right now. We've already got a bunch of people signed up. June 15th, 9 a.m. Dave & Buster's, the Denver branded or Denver named location. There's one in Westminster, which is also like kind of Denver, but this is Dave & Buster's Denver. And then all the details here. We got 40 days. By the time this video comes out, it will be 39 days to go. And fully proxied. You can bring a proxy deck. We don't care if you're bringing real cards or not, but please no paper slips, that kind of thing. And then all the details are here. Yeah, we're really, really excited.
Yeah, super duper cool. That's the first tab in cEDH.
I think I got a little out of order here, but
speaking of tournaments, thank you again to the Land Go Open people. We're still super excited about this. This one's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Oh man, the brain rot's getting to me. I think a lot of the things that we're super excited about this. We've talked about it before, but we just can't get enough of. The location is super cool. We actually got to go to another tournament that was a part of the Land Go Open invitational series. It was the last chance qualifier down in the Springs. And it was a super well run tournament. The judges were super on top of things, and so that has just continued to like bolster my enthusiasm and sense that like this is going to be a really great tournament. May 24th, May 25th. I think there's definitely still some open slots. So
and use code Critical10 for 10% off your entry. And we again thank them for sponsoring us and kind of giving us the courage to like run our own events and host our own events. I know I've been talking to Wayne a little bit about just kind of like what it takes to run one of these, and he's been a really, really good resource. So we're looking forward to this event, and we'll probably be doing a lot of coverage there.
Yeah. So. We also have a channel in our Discord for like specific events.
Good.
We had one for Heisenberg to kind of arrange meetups. And I know one of the things that me and Logan have been talking about is that we feel like we never have enough time when we go to events like this to stop and talk to people, which makes us sad because it's some of the most fun we get to have. So if you're going, if you've already signed up, jump in the Discord, let us know, and then we'll try to work out like some for fun.
We even had people come up to us at the Dungeons and Javas event last weekend in the Springs, and I was like a little taken off guard. I was like, oh, hey, like, yeah. And they're like, oh, it's such a good, like, it's so nice to see you here. And it's cool you're supporting like the local scene. And it's good to see you guys. Like, we're big fans. And I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Like a guy came always like, oh, I saw you playing earlier. And I was like, oh, did I lose to one of your friends? Like, there's a lot of really good people here. And he's like, no, I've been watching your content. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah. He played, I think he was playing Bardo, the Orzhov legendary commander from,
LCI?
Ixalan.
Old Ixalan or LCI? Lost Caverns?
Lost Caverns. Yeah, the new one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I work with set codes. I don't work with names.
But yeah, if you are like us and you're trying to find bigger events to play for, either to keep your spot in the standings or fight your way up in the ladder, dude, check this one out. I think it's gonna be pretty good
for sure. And if you're part of the Critical EDH community in Discord, our Discord's growing so fast. Like Eric said, we have these event channels kind of built up, and it's for like, we're going to the Land to Go Open. If you're going, you can chime in. We could start to coordinate and start to meet up. But if there's an event that we're not going to, but like a large section of our community is, we can make a channel for that too. So,
man, I'm just so excited to go to Nashville. I think it's a great location.
Yeah, for sure. We hit 1K subscribers.
We did it. That's crazy.
In like record time too.
I thank you. Like,
yeah.
I feel like we say this all the time, and hopefully you guys aren't tired of hearing it. Thank you. I think that so much of what this channel has become is influenced based off of the feedback we gotten from people, both in person and online, or in comments or in the Discord. And it's just such a privilege to be able to do this, and super duper thankful. And that's all towards you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yep. And I think we we kind of posted our first video, or at least I started, took a jump and said like, hey, here's my tournament report with Glarb. Started that in February, like February 1st. And we hit 1,000 subscribers on May 1st. That is literally 3 months. So it is a trajectory that I don't know if we can keep, but I think we're gonna damn well try.
Yeah, to the moon. Subscribe to us. Buy AMC stock. Snatch up those graphic cards.
we're trying some new content. So, for example, we've got coaching sessions with Jason. He's been doing a really, really good job of working with our community and putting together these video coaching sessions, which we're slowly kind of putting out there and making available to everyone, but they're out early on Patreon. And then we're also doing gameplay from tournaments. So we're going to our local tournaments, taking raw gameplay, kind of cutting it down into just like, start to finish. This is what a tournament game looks like. And I think that's really important to show, because you see not just skilled players, but also players that are a little bit new. And even as a skilled player, sometimes it's hard to play against those new players, because you're kind of like having to angle things in a certain way and say like, well, maybe you don't quite understand the context of this, but like it's muddy waters, and those tournament experiences are helpful for everyone to see. So we thank all the players that are able to play in those pods and let us upload the videos and stuff like that. And then we've got these kind of like vlog style videos that I really like. I know they're not quite as popular, but lets you see a little bit of behind the scenes, what it's like, just us hanging out with the crew, and covering some of the events. Like this one's the Heisenberg, and we did a lot of player interviews at that as well.
Tons of fun. We are still very much trying to experiment, and while we're still kind of in the early stages of this YouTube channel, while it's growing really fast, thank you guys again for that. We are still trying to, while we still have this kind of momentum, experiment with as many things that we can, just while we're still trying to.
We're not like throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks, but like we have a good idea of what people like, and obviously it's this type of video, like the weekly updates are kind of our most popular, but to the same extent, like I think there's kind of a benefit to providing something for everyone, and kind of providing the whole complete experience. So that's what we're trying to do, and trying to build a community and say that, like, this is us, and this is how we live. This is how we experience cEDH and Magic in general.
This is real. This is me. Critical EDH.
All right, I don't know that reference. What is that one?
That's Camp Rock. You ever see Camp Rock?
No.
Oh, dude, Demi Lovato stands. Get him.
I do like her.
All right. Well, that is this tab.
Yep. Speaking of community things, this is on our video interview with, your video interview.
Cool to see you
I
too.
did not have a voice.
Yeah, your voice was still like super duper.
Yeah, I'm like, you can hear me in the background. I'm like, oh, God. But this is our interview with Gold Sabertooth. We released at 1,000 subscribers, and oh God, what a good interview.
But someone's comment on this interview by Alex MTG was, I appreciated this about holding people accountable to the game actions that they've made. Letting people go back isn't appropriate because the player would now have info on how their game action was received by others. Gold was on Playgun against me at the Rumble Redemption when I went off on a food chain line, and I thought it was weird when he asked about my mana.
Oh, I just realized what that says. 14th Doctor and K9.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, that is a food chain list.
Okay.
It involved carpet mana, checked it out with no issues, but make people play tight. You've got to respect it. I very much agree with them. I was just having this conversation with someone else, where just as a player, I am interested in being the best and playing against the best. And I think a huge part of that is, if someone's like, oh, I only kept this hand because I thought I could exile this Phyrexian Metamorph under this like Chrome Mox, is okay if I like go back to like mulliganing.
Yeah. Learn the lesson the hard way. I've seen it with the Esper Sentinel. It's like, I don't think that works. And they're like, yeah, it taps for weight. And I was like, no, you can't even do that in the first place.
And you'll hear people say, well, obviously, I wouldn't have, made this play. And you're like, well, next time it'll be obvious.
Yeah.
And it's more to be kind and charitable. Like, you don't need to like jump out of your chair and say, what are you doing?
No, there's definitely a way to approach it that's like, hey, I see what you're trying to do, but like, I'm not going to let you take it back, because it's maintaining the game state. It's maintaining, everything being above board. And if it's like a snowball. If you start letting people take things back, at what point do you stop letting people take things back?
Yeah, which is, I think, well, I think part of the things that led me to kind of not want to play casual anymore is you're in this weird milieu of like one turn it's okay to like, oh, I played the wrong land, I'm going to take it back and play this one instead, and then the next turn, because now that you're ahead, like it's no longer okay. And I think that starting from that place of like, if my goal is to like play like be the best player I can be, then you need to be able to experience the consequences in those practice games. And I do also think it's important to have those kind of like walls down conversations of like, you know, cards on the table. I don't know like what to play. I realize I'm in the lead position, but I'm still learning this deck. Like, what, you know,
don't do that in a tournament. But like, but like, you know, if you're playing, no. If you're playing cEDH and you're trying to like learn, or you run into a roadblock, you're like, you know, we call it our Wednesday nights. Like, just like, hey, you know, can we just take a second and like have a conversation, because I'm kind of stuck or whatever. I think a lot of it comes with maturity and being able to accept that like you're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the freaking time. So do you.
Yeah,
like,
definitely, for sure.
it just happens. But like, I'd rather eat the mistake and then like win in spite of it than like win and then be like, oh, well, you know, that's not really a win because you were able to take that back.
Yeah, I think that like I think the spirit of this comment very much so is that like the goal isn't to like, no one's making any mistakes on my watch, you know, but more of like the goal is like, you want to help people around you be the best version of themselves, and a huge part of that is holding them accountable to the decisions that they've made inside of a game space.
I think that's like respecting them as a player too, because if you don't respect them as a player, you're like, yeah, I don't care, you can fix your mistakes, like I'm going to beat your ass anyway. Like you have to respect the game, you have to respect the player, and like part of that is, you know, if you mess up, like, oh well.
Yeah, and then there's no reason after the fact you can't, you know, kind of like help them keep their head up and, you know, make sure like, look, I know you don't have like a turn one, you know, Rhystic Study, but you're in Simic, you're going to get there. You know, hang in there.
You'll be okay.
You know, we'll make it through this together. But Alex, thank you for your comment. Thank you for interacting with us. And thank you people for jumping in the comments in general. We always love chatting.
One last thing I want to say about this is that, this is one of the reasons we chose the name Critical EDH, because I think it's really, it's something that a lot of players need to do, is we need to look critically at the plays we're making, the mistakes we made, how we could have played things better, even if we won, things like that. And like, the really big part is that when we post gameplay videos, dude, our comment section goes off. They're like, Logan, you didn't have an exploration and you played another land. Like, all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, dude, I'll take it on the chin. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to be playing perfect, but I'm not, to the same extent, I'm not cheating either. Like, I'm not trying to cheat, especially on camera or in a tournament or whatever. Like, you know, obviously not. But I just love that our community is interacting and pointing out those things, because that means that we're developing an atmosphere or a, you know, the vibes of like, let's start looking and analyzing. Let's start taking a second and saying, are we playing this right? Are we being the best players we can be?
Yeah, and the more we can do that, even just while watching games, the easier it'll be to do it while we're in them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Alex, and we'll look for more comments from you in the future.
Speaking of comments, I have one on this playmat. Damn, it looks really cool.
This is like really old school MTG style art.
It's so cool. The first thing I saw when I thought this is like, fuck, time to get like an 8th Gold Saber Tooth mat.
Dude, I can imagine this mat, like if we if and when we go to this event, we pick up one of these mats and we get like, we're like, Gold, we need you to draw our commanders like on the mat.
Kind of like hiding in the trees, you know. It's super duper cool. Or maybe like a little C up here because it's kind of already. Either way,
because we're super narcissistic.
It was super great to see the finished product. It's just one more reason to get excited about the Cradle to the Guild tournament coming up. And also, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's like the deepest fried meme directly below this.
Oh, they're gonna see it. I don't know what this is, but Why is Sonic those colors?
I don't.
What is he standing in?
And why does that minion look so satisfied? Like, what has he done to deserve that level of like?
Why does Tassiger look like Hunter Schafer?
Man, this is the type of cEDH analysis you guys are looking for.
Anyway, we would love to go to this event. I think it's probably we're like 80% at this point. And then we've got Papa Squats there. And
Papa Squats.
Yeah, we need to jam some more games with
Glarb,
that guy.
Glarb v. Glarb.
Yeah. So super excited about this. And we've got some event details here. Just May 31st. And it's at Gamers Guild AZ, and they've got that really cool event space. Wish they had some photos up here, but maybe we'll see that next time.
Pricing's great. I'm gonna get my first Cradle. Speaking of first,
You're just leaving it at that. I'm gonna get my first Cradle anyway. On to the next tab.
This is something that I don't know if we have talked about much on the channel, but it's something that we've been involved with. The MTG Nexus server recently kind of got rebranded under Prowess. The goal was we got to do an interview with someone who was a moderator in the Glarb Discord, who now is a huge part of kind of revitalizing this.
Levi.
And, Levi, super great guy. Him along with Mormonator Josh.
Yep.
They have kind of been
And we've met other people like Church, which
that was I think the first place I met Church through, as well as some really great other people. Had fun playing games in the server. Their main goal is to essentially try to like foster this play space for like specifically tournament grinders. So they do have like an application process. You can find a lot of their detail here.
It is a worthwhile thing to apply to. They've got a really good organization system. They have really good conversations. It strangely like mirrors our Discord.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in our Discord and the way we talk, and we had a really long discussion today about draws and things like that. And then I flip over to Prowess and like, it's the same discussion, but like different people are having the same kind of conversation. I'm like, this is cool.
And then also because the focus of their kind of community is supposed to be on like tournament grinders, as people who are a part of their community go to tournaments, and then
place well,
and place well. They've started keeping track of like the top cut pilots in their lists.
Well, look at these.
Oh, we made it. We did
there's
it.
Jason, there's me, and there's Eric. So it's cool to be like, oh, I'm on a list now. Like it's it's just forever.
It's just fun. I think this is a great place of like if you're starting to get into like the tournament scene.
Dude,
and
dude, it's Pigeon and
a lot of Denver people out
Min.
here. You've also got Show on here, who is a big Magda guy, just took top 4.
Oh,
okay. I think I've enjoyed it just as another way of kind of like what's how to follow what's going on in cEDH, and then also I've gotten the chance to play some games on there, and always looking for good places to play online games. And so if you've been grinding tournaments and the players around you aren't as interested in cEDH, this may be a good place to go find some pods.
We'll link this list in the description of this video, and in that list you can see the Discord link, and then there's all the details for the application form. They're also providing resources that even if you aren't accepted for whatever reason, not to say you wouldn't in the future, but they're also providing resources to those that are just like out in the open. So the Discord's open to everyone, but then there's a slightly smaller section of the Discord that is for applicants only.
Yeah, I think Levi, if you're watching, hop in the comments. I think they are planning on doing their own league at some point, like an online only league. That may be incorrect. But I said it anyways.
Makes sense to me. I'm going to say that's the truth. So you heard it here first. Prowess League is coming up. This is rough. This is bad.
This makes me sad.
Friend of the channel, Datatog. We've used their data quite a bit and in their posts here.
Yeah, kind of a household name in cEDH. I think this is kind of like statistics they put out. I think are some of the more referenced.
This episode so far has been really good because if you want to stay connected to cEDH, one, you're already watching the show, and two, like there's a lot of resources that we've provided so far that are like these are ways to stay connected and stay up to date. And like while that might not necessarily inherently make you a better player, kind of gets you in the right mind frame for what it's like to play in tournaments and stuff. And right now we're experiencing the issue of turn order simulator.
Yeah, dude, the stats are in, and the stats say seat 4 fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I experienced this in the tournament. I played this last weekend. I was first seat in my first game, which was good, but then I was fourth, third, fourth. And it's brutal.
I won my first game and then did not win the other games. Like it.
I am sure you guys have had this experience. I know we have of you're in fourth seat, and it just feels like, even if you keep your first 7 and you have the nuts, you're still somehow fighting an uphill battle the entire time. And I always feel pretty validated when I see stats like this.
The disparity should not be 10% between first and fourth seed.
Yeah, that's huge.
And then the non-draw win rate is like, it's not any better.
No. Yeah.
So this is the win rate not including draws. And then this is the win rate including draws. So 22% draw is like, that's not the worst, but it's not great either. It shouldn't be almost the same as seat 1.
Yeah. like if you're in seat 1, your odds of winning are pretty equivalent to your odds of drawing. If you're in seat 4, you have a significantly higher chance of drawing than a statistically relevant higher chance of drawing than winning.
So this was all events. This is 50 plus player events, and you can see that the stats are pretty much the same. And then this is all events recently
since February,
and then also the stats are kind of the same. These are all post ban, by the way. And then this is all 50 plus player events since February. And I think this is probably the most significant one of these.
Yeah. Good job to Datatog, rounding the bases, make sure you're kind of doing your due diligence.
Yep.
Hopefully what you guys can see is that it's not that this is a recent problem, nor that it is a flash in the pan. As of essentially like September last year, we kind of had some of this information, and it has just continued to get worse and worse for player number 4.
Yep. We don't know what to do about it. There's a lot of hubbub around, well, seat 1 doesn't draw, but then doesn't seat 2's win rate just like spike a ton?
Yeah.
And then like I don't think that really fixes the problem. I think we need to start on a really small scale with something like seat 4 gets 1 extra mulligan. Right? So like now you get like first, second, and third 7.
Yeah, you hear, I'm going on my third 7. I wish I was in fourth seat now.
But like that's, I think scrying 1 or scrying 2 is way more impactful than another mulligan. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but there's some things we could try, but it's just gonna be hard to resolve this. And I think the catch-up mechanic was banned, right? Dockside was banned, so it's kind of hard to catch up when you're not able to rip a dockside on turn 2
for sure.
Seat 4.
It is like if the game plan right now is like get your value engines out, your grind engines out, you are already so far behind just based off where your seat at the table is. Max P was talking about this on Twitter, and I agree with him that like I think this should be extremely high on most cEDH players. Like, we got to find a solution for this list.
I was talking to, God, we were just name dropping. I was talking to Gavin from Distraction Makers about TNK, and he thinks that, TNK, the commanders are like really strong, and perhaps we should consider banning partner commanders. I was like, dude, on the list of issues, like that is like really low. Like TNK is strong, but like the color shell is even stronger. So like I don't care about the commanders because Jason never plays either one. But like I was sending him this. I said, look, this is actual data, and this is the problem right now. Like this is problem numero uno.
Yeah, specifically as tournament grinders, this is something that like everyone feels. I've seen so many players who can kick my teeth in anytime they want, just get absolutely shafted by turn order, and be going like 0-2 or 0-3 at events just because they get like third and fourth every single time. Yep.
Not sure what to do about it, but we got to do something.
Just know that if me and you we're in a tournament game together, I'm in seat 1, you're in seat 4. I refuse to trade spots with you, but I feel you. I see you, and good luck next round.
Yeah. So I have a question about this, and this is a question to our audience and to you, and maybe there's not really an answer we can provide right now. If we even out the win rate, do draw percentages go up or down?
Whoa, that's super. So let's, first seat 25%, second seat kind of boom, 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 boom. Dude,
Well, it can be 20. So like if it were, yeah, I guess go on.
That's interesting. I think I have to be honest and say I don't know. My gut says maybe yes, because I feel like in
Guess
games,
what?
Yes, I think draw rates would go up because I feel like in games right now, if everyone, right, we talk a lot about this idea of kind of like a stabilized board state. I think, right, like if there's Rhystic Study, Smothering Tithe, everyone kind of feels that like it's headed towards a draw, just because when everyone is on the same level, it's so hard to like push through the pack to take the lead.
Sure.
But also, I don't know. That would be such a like, because if that is the case, that means that some form of comeback mechanic has been implemented, and depending on what that is, right, it may make certain strategies, like Turbo, more viable from the fourth seat than it is from the first seat, or something like that. I don't know.
So I don't know if you've played a lot of like racing games or just any type of like arcade racing game. In like Cruising USA, they have a catch-up mechanic. So if you fall behind, you will get a speed boost until you are close to the main pack of cars. Now, that sounds ideal because like, hey, you're playing in an arcade. I don't want to be in last place, and like I don't want to be behind everyone else. Like I want to be somewhat competitive or whatever. But what that actually leads to is if you play that game a lot, you get really bored.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I can just mess up and guess what? I'm back in the race. So I don't know if that analogy works here, but it's something we should be cautious of.
Yeah, I definitely like, I think that if we added, right, like a blue shell mechanic to cEDH.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
I think that is going to actively be an aggressor against like the integrity of like the competitive spirit. And that's fine in Mario Kart, because the point in Mario Kart is that like, the dad who's been playing for 20 years can play with their daughter who's like 3 years old, and they both can kind of like have fun. But yeah,
part of the fun of Mario Kart is like the chaos and all that stuff too. But yeah, you were kind of like actively looking for a blue shell. And like if you're in first, you're like, God, like I'm just getting blue shelled over and over and over again. So
finding a way of like evening it out that isn't like punching seat one in the nuts. Like,
yeah, just detrimental to the health of the game is going to be really hard.
It's a very like sensitive dynamic of like giving one player access to something that other players don't, because in turn order it's just based off of the fact that it's like a 4-player format. There's no like structural thing that's giving someone like an extra card or the ability to scry. And so once you introduce that element of like seat 4 has something that no other seat gets, you're going to start changing a lot of variables. And
you're starting to like push buttons and you don't really know what the effects are.
Yeah, which
like you're Homer Simpson in the power plant, just pushing random, pulling levers and stuff like that.
Which, to be fair, I do think based off the data, I think we need to do some of, but right. I would caution people.
We just need to be careful, and also like what's concerning to me is the community at large is just throwing out these like, well, we just do this and it fixes the problem, and it's like, dude, it's not that simple.
Just ban gemstone forehead, like it's the
well, gemstone's one of the catch-up mechanics we have, right? And almost every deck runs it, and like somehow it lowers your win rate. I don't know how.
If you're watching this video and you think there is an obvious solution, I both would be very interested in hearing it and probably disagree with you, because I think that based off the nature of this problem, we are probably 2 or 3 iterations of attempting a solution before we get something that would, I think, meaningfully affect the format. And
one last point I want to make about this is I'm worried that much like the catch-up mechanic, it kind of makes things boring. I kind of like a good story. And if your story is that, hey, I went third and fourth all tournament, yet I won 3 games and drew 2, and then I came in top out of Swiss, and then now I'm first seed, and I get a bye into top 4. That's a good story.
That feels incredible,
right? Yeah. So I don't want to. I'm cautious of taking those experiences away from players, because fourth seed should be a little bit of a detriment, and you can't have a 25% win rate in fourth seed, because then something's wrong, right?
Yeah, and I think it's okay that different seats have different advantages to them or disadvantages, because ideally tournament software is taking that into account, and you're going to spend as much time in fourth seat as you're going to spend in first seat, but that isn't necessarily the case, and depending on the size of the tournament, and
there's so many variables, but I do like a good story, and I do like these sort of I was able to come back and really claw my way back and things like that. So
but at the very least, we have the information that if you weren't able to claw back, it wasn't necessarily because you're a bad player.
Yeah,
the data's kind of against you here. Thank you, Data Talk. Yep. Next, we've got,
speaking of bad days,
Rhystic Study is not fine. Very, very long comment. I think they touch on. I think they do it.
Let's just go through the points. I don't need to. I'm not going to read this whole thing.
Okay.
Point 1: just pay the 1. And that's one of the comments that people say is just counter it.
Yeah.
Or just play it yourself, or just play more enchantment removal, which I do, but whatever. Their points are: card leads to unhealthy politics. I think that's BS. And point 2 is the card is not fun. I don't think that's true either.
Yeah, I think
while you're talking, I'm going to look something up.
So just pay the 1. I think I agree with people that this is a surface level analysis. I think seat 4 is a great example of if someone in seat 1, turn 1 gets a Rhystic out, you cannot afford to pay the 1. Just counter it. That I also think is a short-sighted analysis. Because, right, what about the next thing that you also need to counter? Rhystic Study, while it gives you a huge advantage, it doesn't necessarily say win the game on it. Run more enchant removal. I'm not a big silver bullet guy. So I think I agree with them that those aren't necessarily valid points for people who are frustrated with it. And to their points of the affirmative, that it leads to toxic politics. That is a difficult thing. For instance,
I think that's like bad framing. It maybe you are framing it in such a negative way that you're well, any discussion about it is just toxic, and I don't think that's true.
So I guess maybe a way I would try to interact with that framing is to think of the last 2 or 3 oh my god, that was so toxic interactions that I had in Magic, and were those because of or around a Rhystic Study? Not for me. And once again,
no, not for me either.
Just with the way I framed it, it's harder to get more of an anecdotal response than that. But I find that
I mean, the ones that I think of for toxic interactions haven't really been at my tables, but either I'm watching a game and I'm like, oh, this player is just aggressively politicking out of their mind, and it has nothing to do with the Rhystic Study. It just, that's the player being the player. And I think we can all imagine who I might be talking about.
I think it is either the kind of weird and unfortunate dynamic that often develops in a tournament setting where there is money on the line and you have a veteran player and a junior player. I think that can be a really toxic situation.
They're just mind slavering the junior players.
Yeah, they're piloting 2 decks, and then that can get really toxic. I think another one is oftentimes if there is a stacks piece that shuts a player out, or they get a combo piece removed early on, and people just kind of get tilted. That is another very toxic situation I've seen.
Well, okay, so this person would argument that Rhystic Study is a stacks piece, and that playing it early on will tilt the rest of the table. I think that's one way to frame it. As I become more experienced with cEDH, the less I care about cards like this. Like, I am just learning to play around it, learning to be comfortable with it. Part of the discussion we had in the Critical EDH Discord was about Consecrated Sphinx and how, like, they're like, well, Logan, you run it, but, like, you know, every time I play it, I'm like, oh, it gets copied or whatever. I'm like, I feel confident that I can still win, even if there's another another Consecrated Sphinx, and we're both drawing our entire libraries.
Dude, I'll take those odds every time.
Right. But like, if I don't win, then like, okay, we draw. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world. But
No.
you know, I'll take my freaking chances. That's better than like, oh, we're losing right now. But that's just one example. But like, the more experience as players we get, like, I know you don't care. I sure have your Rhystic Study. I want mine too.
Yeah. A point that I wish would have been included is that I think Rhystic Study means I don't think you're supposed to be running enchantment removal. I think that you need to take your silence or defense grid effects more seriously. Like, if there's 3 or 4 Rhystic Studies on the table, you just have to make sure you get that, like,
Rhystic Study doesn't do shit when you drop a Grand Abolisher.
yeah. Like,
if they don't have interaction with the Grand Abolisher, it's like, I'll cast it into your study all day. What do I care? Or defense grid. Exactly. It's the same thing.
I think that's a great, I mean, that's at least how I've seen my play style kind of changing around there always being 4 or 5 Rhystic Studies.
Yeah.
Is just trying to make it easier to just jam into them. And that means you need to have some way of turning off the cards that they're all drawing. The other point that they made, that it is not a fun card, that I would disagree with. I like when I'm drawing cards. I also, as a very political player, I like when you draw cards because it gives me all the ammo I need to make other people counter your spells. Like, if like me and Jason did this in a game in top 16. We both had Rhystic Studies, and I was like, out of curiosity, let's just put our hands next to each other and see what the size difference is. And his was like, ka-choom! So I'm like, I don't know. I think that tells you which one of our spells you're supposed to counter. And I think that introduces this dynamic where now people have more things that they can do and more ways to interact with the table. And also, I don't know. I just personally like Rhystic Study, and that extends to my opponents. Like, if I have 3 opponents who have Rhystic Studies and I don't, I also am still having fun in that situation. Well, I would like to have a Rhystic Study. That would be great. The fact
but it kind of gives you carte blanche to do whatever you want.
Yeah, I am like...
You're like, oh, I don't have a study. I'm casting Vamp Tutor. I'm trying to find Rhystic Study. Everyone's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, if like all of my opponents have Rhystic Studies and I don't, for the first time in my cEDH career, I actually can use the "I'm just a little guy" argument. But I don't know. I think that's my experience. That's my view.
One of the arguments here is, this card is not a Soul Ring or even a 1 ring. It's a blue card and kind of forces you into blue. I don't think that every color should be equally viable in competitive.
Yeah,
right.
I would very much agree.
That's the history of competitive video games and things like that. Is that not every archetype is competitively viable, or every character or every strategy or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, in season 2, was Teemo Jungle viable in League of Legends? No, it was not. But like, should it be? Probably not. Like, I don't care. Like, if green is not the most viable color in like mono green, okay. But like, there's decks that exist that like Lumra that make it viable. But like, that doesn't mean that it's viable in every like green sleeves is like, I don't, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think this is where I might lean on some more like senior players in the format, and I think of like Freedom Waffle or Comedian, who have talked about the importance of playing in other formats. And I think that, like, having primarily played Commander, I had this like idea that like Rhystic Study was across all of Magic the Gathering one of the most powerful cards.
No, it's actually quite terrible in other formats.
But then you go and talk to these other formats, and suddenly Dredge or Reanimator is like the boogeyman that never goes away.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't remember the last time.
Landless Dredge, dude. I love it so much.
Or like Shops or all these other archetypes they just aren't seen in cEDH because they're not good in singleton formats.
But there's cards that are good in our format that aren't good in those formats.
Absolutely.
Right? Or vice versa. Like that's okay. Magic is such a giant and diverse game. If you don't like Rhystic Study, maybe cEDH is not the game for you or the format for you.
Or if in
there's
this
like Oathbreaker, that's another.
If in this particular moment in time you are Rhystic Studied out, I think everyone understand if you want to like take a spin in like Modern or Standard. I think that like one of the things I like about Magic is that there's so many aspects of it, and you know, I think especially coming from casual Commander, this like not the ability to not brew everything has led me to like, you know, every once in a while I'll just go on Arena and play the like wildest, jankest like brawl deck because I just want to like play Magic cards that I haven't seen in a while, and I don't want to get absolutely bodied by a Kinnan.
I think one of the other things we need to be aware of is that like the emphasis on Rhystic Study wasn't really here until we were post-ban.
Absolutely.
And so when the focus shifts like that, we're just realizing what the next most powerful thing is. Are we going to keep banning powerful things out of our format until there's nothing left and then we don't really have cEDH anymore? It's just a shell of what it once was before. Because to some extent, I kind of feel like that now. Like we've lost a lot of speed.
Lost a lot of speed.
We're down to like 2 to 3 turns slower than what we were before. Games are dragging on. We talked about the draw problem. We talked about the turn order disparity, which was not nearly as bad pre-ban. So like, there's been like a lot of knock-on effects, right? But okay, so you ban Rhystic Study. Are you then predicting the future is like all, you know, grass is greener on the other side type thing? And like we've achieved utopia and a perfect society, and like it's not going to happen.
I very much agree. Like, I know Jason talks about it a lot, but the two most important things you can be doing in Magic is making mana and drawing cards. And without Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Dockside, a lot of mana got removed. And so now the easiest access to push the envelope is drawing cards.
Well, the easiest access to make mana is to draw surplus cards. Right? Because
yeah, that's a good way of looking at
it. You're turning. It's like, well, I'll just brute force it. I'll just draw 30 cards, and then, by golly, some of those will make me mana.
Yeah, it's the only way I can make my land drops. Yeah, I want to, like, I think being frustrated with Rhystic is reasonable, and the fact that
absolutely.
Like a card is in every game, and the fact that if your deck doesn't take it into account means you kind of are like already behind the 8 ball. Can be frustrating, and I sympathize with that. I would hope that if you truly are like the Rhystic hater, that instead of trying to like bully it out of the format by being annoyed at it and sheer willpower, start trying to think of like what's beyond Rhystic Study. What are ways to play where you either don't care about it, or what are ways to play that punish people like me who are on Company Enchantment and Mirror Maid and Clever Impersonator? Like what are ways that you can brew that still give you access to good win cons, still give you access to good colors?
We're already seeing this with decks like Rogthras.
Yeah.
Because you're not casting a ton of spells, you're making a ton of mana, you've got an outlet in the command, and your game actions don't really trigger Rhystic. Or if they do, you can pay for it.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
there's alternative strategies out there that exist that are successful and do well. And yes, the format is dominated by this because it's like the big, easy thing to do. You can turn any deck into a winning deck if you have 3 copies of Rhystic on the board.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, you can play some weird shit when you're drawing that many cards. So like, it's totally reasonable to be frustrated with that. But much like people were frustrated with Dockside before, if Rhystic goes, then what's the next thing? Is it Tithe? Then every deck is running Tithe. And then, we're all stressed and suffering under that.
Well, we just have to push it far enough down the line that everyone's running Verity Circle and Runic Armasaur.
God.
That's how we'll know that cEDH will have finally.
I'm close, dude. I'm close to running that now.
That's how we'll know that our format is in a good spot, is when everyone's on Runic Armasaur.
So we just want to caution our community, because we're all very critical of the game, critical of the plays we make, and just very analytical people. And we could tell from the comments that you guys are like that too. Just be careful about assertions that you make about cards, because don't forget that. Okay. Don't forget that our wives are laughing at something. I don't know what. Don't forget that there's 36,000 cards or whatever that we need to contend with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is a very important time in cEDH to take a deeper level of analysis than X card needs to be banned. Especially in this kind of, we've essentially been told that we're going to have 6 months before pretty much anything else happens on a format level. We're obviously going to get new cards, and
we're all playing cEDH to play powerful cards. Mm-hmm. And banning cards does not encourage powerful cards, because they're not banning weak cards.
Mm-hmm. They're not like, oh, we have to go after Jeweled Amulet.
Diet Chrome Mox. Yeah. So I it's concerning to me that this post is the most upvoted post of the week on Reddit, and that there's so many comments that are like, yeah, like this is terrible, and things like that. But you're not seeing the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not to say that there's not a lot of Rhystic Studies, because there definitely are. Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Yep.
Speaking of something that we haven't seen a lot of, is timers. You've got the round timer if you're in tournaments, but a lot of other sports, specifically chess, will specifically keep time per player. And so this person's making the argument, or they're asking the question, do we need that in cEDH?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because I've been calling judges for slow play, and I don't even use the word slow play. I call a judge over and say, "Can you watch the game for a few minutes?" Mm-hmm. And then the players are like they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And maybe you need to, maybe this is a tool you can help move along your Wednesday night games, your casual games, to keep things going.
Yeah.
And make, maybe it's a practice tool. In tournaments, no way.
I think the reason I hear stuff like this talked about a lot is the concept of turn equity, and there are some decks that take way more time to do their thing than others, and trying to balance that out on a structural level, and that I think is an interesting concept, but I don't know if that's the way we want to kind of police or referee viability of archetypes.
I have noticed that when I'm editing gameplay, the player who's generally winning is taking up the lion's share of time. Excuse me. And what that means, I'm not really sure. But I can see, as someone who might lose a lot, go, well, this player is taking up a lot of time. It leaves less time for me. But maybe you're just not in a winning position.
Do you think this is a potential way to kind of revisit that seat 1, seat 2, seat 3?
In what way?
If statistically, seat 1 is more likely to be winning, meaning they're more likely to be taking up more time, is making sure that they have just as much time and only as much time to play as seat 4. Do you think that kind of introduces...
It's hard to say, because this would push strategies like Krark Sakashima or Krark anything out, because you're spending time, or you're constantly starting and stopping the timer. Well, I'm rolling. I'm not taking up time. I'm rolling or whatever.
Yeah, it would bully out a lot of Storm out of the format. I think Elsha would have a hard time with this, or honestly even Glarb, because when you fetch for lands, you have to let's say you've got a Dryad out and you've got 3 fetch lands, you have to look at the top of your library between each one.
Yeah.
And if someone just casts Thoracle, Demonic Consultation, that takes 30 seconds to resolve.
Yeah, so you're benefiting the turbo decks, or just jamming wins and like you're like, well, I'm not using my timer. Like it just doesn't. It's not a game that works like that. And there's too many access that like things work on. Like you said, fetch lands or tutoring or I'm not really sure about that, or just priority passing on certain things. Sometimes you need a second to think about like, do I need to pass priority on this?
Yeah, I would be interested to hear if other people try this. In the short term, though, I think I would agree with you. This is a problem I think is best solved with judges, because I've also been in situations both where I've called a judge over or where people have called a judge on me, and they're just like, we have 10 minutes left in the round. The stack is gigantic. Can you please just sit here to make sure we're all keeping things moving? And that
I'm not even sure that that's what this person is saying here. They're talking about a chess clock, but like using it to, I don't know. I don't know that like it's a slow play thing. Like if you're taking game actions, you're not slow playing, but like if you're taking a lot of game actions, you're using up a chess clock that you have a finite amount of time on. But like if you have a lot of game actions to take, what happens when you run out of time? Then it's like, I'm not allowed to take legal game actions anymore.
Yeah,
that doesn't jive with me. It doesn't work.
One feels bad that I think I know I've experienced multiple times at tournaments is if someone gets stopped on a win attempt with like 5 minutes left on the clock, instead of like passing, they will take legitimate game actions to stall out. That's when I pause
the game and call a judge.
Yeah. But I mean, even if the judge is there, they can still take legitimate game actions, and
yeah,
that is frustrating. I don't like it. After those situations, I'm like usually like a little heated, but not being in that situation right now, I like accept that that's part of just playing in tournaments. Is that like if you're that player that if you get past the turn, like you can make a one attempt on your turn and it never gets to your turn because they just stall out and it draws. That just feels bad.
I like this comment. What if we try something that cannot possibly work in Magic the Gathering, let alone with Magic the Gathering with 4 players? And then like also the comment that I reply a lot of this, like try it yourself and report back. Like we're all going to say it's not going to work or whatever, but like maybe you will find something else that some aspect of it that does work or something like that. I don't know. I mean, like we just got the MTR/IPG addenda updated so that now 20 minutes is the maximum overtime. And like that's official. It's on the books.
I've been liking that a lot.
Yeah. I think 20 is a little short. Like I'd argue for 30, but either way, like I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling the like, okay, let's get a move on. Like we only have 80 minutes plus 20.
Yeah.
It
definitely keeps things moving. I have definitely talked to a couple people who said that they've had the experience of just losing to the clock. But kind of like I was saying earlier, I think I'm just trying to recognize that just happens.
And that's not like a bad thing.
No. Speaking of bad things, I'm just kidding.
Is there going to be a week that goes by where we don't talk about gifts ungiven?
Gifts ungiven segment.
Yeah. I agree with Lamora that the card is broken. I don't know about the winning every single game it's gone on the stack, that sort of thing. But on the face of it, it's an instant speed. You are tutoring 4 cards. Who gives a shit where they're going? If it was a quad Entomb, I think the card would still be broken on some level.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, I think it would almost be more broken. I don't know. Okay, I can't think about that. But, I can't think about that.
Okay, so what I've come to realize about this card is that it doesn't go in every archetype. It doesn't go in every deck. I think we all kind of knew that going in. But it's probably not quite powerful enough for blue farm unless you're, really looking for that other intuition effect. But like in Jeskai, it's nuts. It's really, really good. I lost to it against an Elsha, our local player, Kevin.
Yeah, way to go, Kevin.
Yep. Just ripped the gifts and I was like, oh shit, like I don't have anything for this. And then, all of a sudden followed by Grand Abolisher, followed by, like stuff like that. And like, I just think the card's strong and it's weirdly because it's 2 and 2. I think it's one of those cards that you kind of figure out at the time what you need, and then regardless of what options you're given, you're like, oh well, it doesn't matter because I have these pieces in my hand. I can piece something together and then present a win.
Yeah, it reminds me of in the Loomer Discord, we're always having a conversation about a land version of this card called Realms Uncharted. And the conversation is, well, what's your Realms Uncharted pile, or what's your Gifts Ungiven pile? And kind of what he's saying here, I don't know if it's necessary because the addition of one extra card to hand as opposed to intuition just makes the opportunities you have just so much more just out the box and situational and context specific, in a good way, in the best way. And so I think I'm still going to stick to my original prediction that I think Jessica and Esper are going to be able to take the biggest advantage of this. And while I think a lot of other colors should test it, like Teamer,
I think Bant could probably take a decent advantage of this as well.
I think certain Bant decks can.
Yeah.
But I think, like a couple months from now, we are most consistently going to see it performing the best in Esper and Jeskai, and that's an Eric prediction. Real hot take: Esper's going to be good a couple months from now.
I think any wow,
real controversial there.
And any color shell that's running simultaneously blue, white, and or green. You have like the Eternal Witness and or regrowth style effects and Savins and stuff like that. And it makes it good. I think the card's broken. Does that mean we're going to see it a lot? Probably not. We're going to see it in certain decks, but that doesn't mean it's any less broken.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if Rogsai picks this up.
I thought about it. It's just like sometimes the piles are Rhystic Study, Copy Enchantment, Mirror Maid, and like Clever Impersonator.
Hell yeah.
And then you're like, okay, but I just wasted 4 mana to tutor 2 copies of Rhystic, which is like not the worst thing in the world.
Getting 2 Rhystics is never a waste of mana.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, is that really what you want to be doing? Probably not. Like I might almost run stock up instead of this, but
yeah. Either way, I am interested to keep an eye on it. I think it's fun that we got more cards back. And while I still have not seen a ton of it in games, I will not throw shade on people who want to test it or want to try it. Because I was watching that game that Kevin popped off.
Yeah.
And then I know a couple people who want to test this in Blue Farm, or Austin, our local, is a really big Master of Keys guy, so he's super hot in this. I hope that this allows more of that kind of like reanimator kind of like, oh, now you just have like a Razaketh a game to like take place.
I'm more okay with it now than it was like before before the unbans happened. But I still think it's probably. I think it might bite us in the ass in a little bit. Like it's one of those things that people are going to realize. Wait, this is actually broken. This is actually really good, and then we're going to find ways to take advantage of that. We're not in that space yet. I think not enough time has gone by. It takes a little bit for the format to catch up. It takes a little bit for people to catch on, and there could be that one player in the middle of Minnesota somewhere that's playing it, and he's like, dude, I win every game. Like, it's insane. I've been playing it in all my decks, and like, here's how I broke it. And then and then it'll spread like wildfire, and then everyone's like, oh well, now we have another problem on our hands. Like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if the biggest consequence of this is that now like Inala is the boogeyman of the format, I'm okay with that. Like,
yeah,
I'm comfortable with the idea that I'm going to have to find new ways to solve problems in tournaments.
Sure. We're excited for it, and I think it's interesting that people big in the space like Lamar are talking about it. It's good. It's good for the format.
Good for the format. Random thought of the day. What set, if completely removed from Magic, pretend it was never printed, would leave the biggest shakeup in CEDH?
I didn't even wait very long, and I just answered. I was like, it's Theros Beyond Death. Because then we lose Thassa's and Underworld Breach.
Man, what's the, like, if Thassa's is gone,
what's
the next strongest combo? Would it be Chain of Smog?
Chain of Smog, Witherbloom. We'll see like a lot of Labman and Jace, and
I fucking hate Labman.
Crap. Like, it's just junk.
Man, and Underworld Breach, it like is it kind of props up so much of like turbo because you're able to recover from burning through so much of your deck attempting to get to your other win line.
Plus the card's freaking cool.
It
also like gives you a space, like it can get Besaju'd and you can get stopped.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it bounced to your hand and you're like, oh shit, I don't have a way to get it out again.
Yeah.
There's just so many like cool design spaces of the card. I think the card's really cool.
I think they're two cards that I think are some of the most ubiquitous with our format in a good way. Like Rhystic Study is also like really, really big. But like Thassa's in Underworld Breach result in such like if we're looking at like the energy levels or like the attention of people at the table, like if someone resolves an Underworld Breach, boom, like everyone is on alert. If there's a Thassa's Oracle on the stack, everyone is paying attention, and I think that's cool. I like the way that it can draw attention and generate these like big moments. Kind of going back to the idea of
cEDH players,
stories.
I believe we deserve a true A+B.
Mm-hmm.
And like Thassa's Tainted Pact and Thassa's Decon are those A+Bs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's totally fine and healthy for the format. When was the last time I lost to a Thassa's, like a true, just like Thassa's Decon? I don't know, probably last week, but like there's so many other things I've lost to since then.
Mm-hmm.
I lost to freaking Fairy Mastermind Smothering Tithe at Kinnan the
Yeah.
other night. Like
When I lose to Thassa's, I'm not like, oh, this again. Like,
yeah, it's just like, oh, you got me. Like, you know, it's
oh, Thassa's gamer cringe.
yeah.
It's
It's not that at all.
Yeah, I'm not like, oh my gosh, another person playing Underworld Breach. I just can't stand these guys. Like,
God, these powerful cards. Why are they playing them? I just don't get it.
no. I like definitely have won more games recently with Smothering Tithe, very mastermind. But
Yeah.
I just think Thassa's cool.
I think Commander 2016 was probably a good, you know, like you remove all those partner
That's when we got partner
commanders.
commanders.
At least some of them, yeah.
Man, I have no idea what our format would look like without partner commanders. It would.
Hey, Cyrano agrees.
Whichever.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought, but you know, it's not going to come to pass.
I don't know enough about like Magic history. I don't know. Maybe if you banned
I don't
like
know shit about
what's the one that like Guy's Cradle came out in? Was that
Urza's Saga.
It was that just Urza Saga's the name of the set? Because you also had Urza Saga in that set, right?
God, I'm gonna get rolled in the comments
Yeah.
for that. It's Urza's something.
Yeah, Urza's. You guess.
Your guess is as good as mine.
That would also be pretty crazy.
Speaking of sets that are really good in cEDH, Bloomborough for some reason.
Gold Sabretooth makes the argument. MH3 and Bloomborough get in a street fight. Bloomborough's winning.
I mean, historically, the Modern Horizons sets have had huge impacts on Commander, but like, I don't know. When was the last time you saw Ragavan put in work? Don't answer this weekend. I know I heard that story, but I mean, like realistically, like you know.
So let's see. What are the we're flipping
I don't know about
flipping through some of the flipping through some of the Bloomborough cards. I think they both have introduced really big commanders like Flubs, Lumra,
I mean,
but
there's a whole Flubs event that we went to.
but also a lot of like the enabler cards or like control pieces. Like there's something in Bloomborough for everyone.
Dude, he's just going off.
Like Mockingbird is just like basically a staple in any deck that goes in blue right now because you can, or especially if you're in like Azorius Plus because you can do the Ranger Captain thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are okay? Obviously, Nadu was insanely impactful. But
What was MH3?
Yeah, isn't that what Sabretooth was talking about? He was talking about MH3.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But it got banned. RIP. I think if Nadu was still around, there'd be a solid argument. Other big ones.
It's just like one card, though.
Let's see what else was Shifting Woodland. What are other MH3 cards? No Elemental Blast.
I don't know, like the MDFCs.
Oh, the MDFCs actually did.
Yeah, I mean they're great, but they're like, are they like? When was the last time you saw someone cast a sink into stupor?
I think the last person I saw cast it was me, and it was a month ago.
Yeah, but like it gets pitched to Kraumbat a lot.
And
like,
I cast it incorrectly because I thought I could hit my own spell. I had to take it back. I was like,
yeah,
oh.
I think that Bloomborough is one of those sets that will continue to grow with just like its entrenchment. The value of the set will probably go up, and like the sealed product and stuff, which we don't really care about. But
there has
really
to be some
interesting.
bigger cards from MH3. Was it just Nadu? Yeah, man.
I mean, like there was like Flage and all those like weird commanders.
Giants.
I'm sure there's something.
There's got to be something.
We're engagement farming is what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're missing the big things so that someone in the comments will tell us, and then
yeah.
We
we're making eye contact right now. This is legitimate. Like I can't think of
anything.
But I think that could just be that we both love Bloomborough.
I like Pinnacle Monk.
Pinnacle Monk is really cool.
But like, is it good? I don't know.
It's a good Kodamadar. But yeah, I think both of us have both found commanders and cards in Bloomborough that we really hang our hat on and that are really, really fun.
Yeah, Flood Color Flux.
Oh, it's such a cool card.
Yeah, Glarb's great.
Big fan of Lumra. Flubs is also like I have yet to play Flubs, but I think it is such a cool deck.
Yeah.
Speaking of other cool cards, we gotta find a name for this. As I said last week, Jason, bless his heart, tracks down like 3 or 4 cards every week that's doing really well in some tournaments.
I think Snapback is a really good example of like it's just a free spell.
Yeah. Like Jason runs it in Blue Farm, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be running it in Rockside in short order. Just because it's one other additional free tool to help get you there.
Yeah, it's free interaction, and we are in a creature combo meta. This can bounce their Thassa's Oracle, reduce their devotion to blue.
Yeah, I mean, Snapback is just it's a good card. It's into the Flood Maw that can also hit your own stuff for free. It's Chain of Vapor, but no downside of continuing the chain.
If you're in Rock Thrass, it gives you one more thing to bounce your Cloud of Fairies because the deck definitely needs another one. If you're in like kind of like Esper Control and you've got some open mana, it lets you like hit people's Tivits, or you can bounce Kinnan in response like the cast of like a Basalt, or it's really, really versatile. And in this meta, it is so easy to have a blue card in hand to exile.
Yeah. Especially if your deck is built for it, like wrong size 54% blue or something at this point. And it's just massively blue. And so having that additional tool of, well, I can not only counter a spell, but I can also just like represent no mana. I have nothing open. All of a sudden, you're presenting a problem, and it's like, oh, goodbye, Brewmaster.
Yeah. This I think is a great example of one of the benefits of like the Rhystic meta is no one cared about Commandeer or Misdirection aside from Yuriko like 4 months ago. But now we're in this like, I don't know, I always envision it as like, these two like dueling mages when people have like their entire deck in their hands and you're just casting counterspell after counterspell after counterspell. And so
I love those so
I
much.
think they're really fun, and I think Snapback is just a part of that dynamic. And so dude, free cards are really good.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. I can expect to probably see a lot more of it and probably play a lot more of it.
Kind of the opposite of an instant speed free interaction. This is potentially what might have been considered an overcosted, underwhelming effect previously, but now I have seen this card like absolutely wreck shop. It's Druid Purification, and its abilities that when it enters, starting with you, each player chooses an artifact or enchantment you don't control, and you destroy each permanent chosen this way. From what I have heard from people who play this card, and from the experience I've seen, is it has such like a leveling effect. Like if there's one player who's super far in the lead, everyone's going to pick their stuff. Or if everyone has like Rhystics, then it just kind of like, now none of us have Rhystics, and this is
not none of us, because if you have a Rhystic, it's impossible for it to be touched.
Yeah, yours are safe.
I think this is a overcorrection, and people are coping a little bit. The card is fine. It's going to perform fine, but like, run Bane. Like just run Bane.
Just pay the 2 extra mana. Have the courage to hit all your own stuff too.
Well, and the other problem is if this gets copied, the effect can be turned back on you, and everyone's going to go, well, I'm pointing all of my all of my votes, all of the table's votes are getting now pointed at you because you've already played this and you didn't lose anything from the first one. So Bane, it doesn't really work like that, because if you copy a Bane, it just happens again. Like, it's fine. It's like whatever. I don't know. The card's okay.
I think this is a card that's good in low color green piles, which outside of Simic aren't especially strong right now. I think that inside of Simic, it's held back by the fact that you can't flip it off Kinnan. I think that if this was a Kinnanable card, I think this would honestly probably be better than Manglehorn. But a lot of Kinnans are kind of already cutting Manglehorn anyways, or have cut it a while back after we lost Dockside. So I definitely think like there are decks that like want this effect, but I don't know if this is quite like TNT level of like get out there, get playing this card.
Well, we have to consider what other cards could be played in the slot of this card. Reverent Silence is one of them.
Yeah.
That's often free and gets rid of all enchantments, which is maybe not the effect you're looking for. Also, Force of Vigor is probably the most notable one, where that is sometimes free when it's not your turn, and can target two things. And it can target enchantments and artifacts. I think Force of Vigor is objectively better than this card, but you don't see my ass running Force of Vigor.
Another kind of, well, it was niche until someone went and brewed Rockslide the wrong way. Isn't this the same CMC as Aura Thief? Why,
yes.
Why destroy them when you can have them? Give me.
Yeah, I just got a really sick Aura Thief in the mail. You can check my Twitter or our Twitter for that. Yeah, it's the same CMC. It's the same CMC as Aura Thief, and Aura Thief is way more powerful.
I do think like I said, I could see that if you're in like Golgari or Gruul wanting this type of effect. But I think that it is a really, really rough time to not be in blue all around. And I think trying to compensate for the fact that you're not in blue by running a 4-cost creature with an ETB effect means that oftentimes at the point that you need this effect, your opponents are already far enough ahead. And you can't like flash it out to hit like an Underworld Breach or
let's think about it this way. You're in Yoshimaru Thras, and this is in your 100, right? How many cards can you think of that you would rather run than this card?
Band's really strong right now, so I would think
probably like 25.
Yeah.
Right. So like, okay, it doesn't see play there. Let's say you're in Korvold, and you're like, okay, I need some enchantment artifact removal. Kind of just helps me stabilize. That sort of thing.
If you're in Korvold, this is hitting the wrong player's permanence.
True, but like, okay, maybe that's a bad example, but you're in Jund and you're trying to, have that sort of destroy effect. Wouldn't you just rather Grim Tutor? Like that's 1 black, you tutor any card into your hand. And like you're already running all the other tutors, but I would take a 3-mana tutor over 4-mana or whatever this is.
Or honestly, this is going to reveal just how far the green rabbit hole I've done. I would probably, if I were in Jund, I'd probably want City of Solitude over this.
City of Solitude. Yeah,
right. Because if I'm trying to get rid of other people's artifact and enchantments at a non-flash speed, that means it's on my turn and I'm trying to take them off advantage engines. I would rather just turn off the player in general than just take them off one piece.
Yeah, and one of the arguments for this card would be Displacer Kitten decks.
Yeah.
But if you have Displacer Kitten, wouldn't you rather just win?
Yeah. If you're in this world where you're able to do like Feldar Guardian loops or Displacer Kitten or these types of things, you have better things that you can be doing than destroying other people's stuff.
Aura Shards is better than this card.
Oh, Aura Shards is, dude.
It's 1 white green. When a creature enters the battlefield on your side of the field, destroy target enchantment or artifact. And like Thras Yoshimaru shits out creatures, right? Like that'll clear the way for you.
Yeah, but I think right after the bans, you did like this weird like stacks burn Najila with Aura Shard.
It was doing okay.
Yeah, I think it did really well.
Right. Yeah.
No, I think that like I think the place that Druid Purification potentially would do the best is like Simic and Kenny Can't Flip It. So I definitely think that there are decks where this effect is good, but I think you kind of have to be in 2 colors. And once you're in 2 colors, then the heuristics you're using to evaluate card quality change, because you're going for layers over overall like quality, because you have to dig if you're in 2 colors. And so I think as soon as you're in 3 or 4, you just do not have room for this, and you would rather be on Clever Impersonator or Copying Enchantment. Cool card though. I can see why it's seeing more play.
It's also it's just really good in casual. Like, you know, everybody kind of handshakes across the table sort of thing.
Speaking of casual, this was a card I hadn't seen in cEDH for a long time.
Deep Gnome, man, I saw this in like Boros all the time. And like even Mardu, but now we're seeing it outside of that.
I think it's because white has so many weird advantage engines, because you also have Weathered Wayfarer, or all these like weird, if a player does X specific action, you get to do like this. I know I like it in Kodama Ishai because it has flash, and so I definitely use this to get Grand Abolishers out. Or I'm also doing Tameshi loops there, so the fact that it can get me like planes is super nice.
We need to do a deck tech on that stack. It's so hyper specific. We just lost like 90% of our audience.
It's a really weird list.
Eric's like, and then it's like
on that Zip Across Chamber. But I've been enjoying it just because I think this lets you kind of go in on the mana side of things. And so if you have a commander that is very card advantage, you know, this isn't especially explosive. It's not super sexy. The floor is like, you literally just pay 0. You pay 2 mana to get 0 mana, right? That's the floor. It's just nothing happens when you cast this card. But also very similar to like Archivist of Ogma. I've had games where this has got me like 4 or 5 lands. I mean, like 2 turn Zorkas, which is really nice.
Provided you have no lands in hand that are plains and none on the field. I think your floor in 3 colors is 4 lands, right? Because you have
probably the duels, and
duels and the shocks,
probably a shock,
and then if you're lucky, you have a basic or a surveil or something. But probably not.
If you're like getting ready for like a Baseju or something like that.
Yeah, but it seems cool. I see how it fits in Kodama Ishai and probably Yoshi Thras, and maybe not Derevi. Like I think it's a little too cute for Derevi.
I think it's a little too cute for Derevi. I think that like potentially, I'll be honest, I could see Tivit running this card.
Interesting.
It's
I didn't think about that from that axis.
Just because like I would view that as another example of like your commander is such a like strong value engine, and that's a deck that doesn't mind like sitting back and waiting.
Wait, hold up. Do you see Tivit as a value engine?
I see it as a value engine and a combo piece.
Interesting. I'm starting to only see it as a combo piece.
Interesting.
Because I think the value proposition is so freaking bad. Not because it doesn't give you what it wants, but the likelihood that it gives everyone else what they want because they copy it is extremely high.
Maybe I'm just biased because I feel like I've lost a lot to Tivit in the last like 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, sure, I've lost to Tivit plenty of times. But if you look at the play patterns of that, they're not playing Tivit till they're about ready to win.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think this. I don't think I've ever played Tivit, and so my ability,
got a list.
Yeah, my ability to analyze it is my ability to lose to it.
I mean, it's like the Esper deck. That's kind of the boogeyman, right? Like it's the big Esper deck outside of Marnius. But I think the deck is good. It's just you kind of have to be careful about how you frame what the commander does, because while on its face it says you can do these things. As soon as Kinnan gets a hold of that whole equation changes. If there's a Kinnan deck at the table and they're like, all of a sudden, I have a Imposter Mech that's a Tivit. Or, no, sorry, not Imposter Mech. They have a Phyrexian Metamorph that's a Tivit. And that whole equation starts to change, because then they're generating treasures, they're drawing cards, and you're like, oh shit, I don't want Kinnan to do any of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to be really careful with that.
Yeah. It's Esper is such an interesting shell. I could see this doing well in Malcolm Timna. I I don't think that I would recommend this card at all for 4-color piles.
No, it's a little too cute for those.
Yeah, and especially
TNT doesn't run this card.
TNT run it. I also wouldn't expect like Dihada or Tim Nadargo to run this, because those are like super duper turbo, and this is like the most sit back and wait card.
Dihada and Tim Nadargo? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Two Mardu list, yeah.
I have a mid-range Dihada list that pretty much wants this card. Like, I think Dihada has a actual good capacity to grind out the game, where a lot of other turbo decks don't. It kind of has that unique ability to do that. So if there's the full turbo Dihada version, right? But you can also take a step back and kind of start to run things like Braid's Arisen Nightmare. You could probably run Deep Note Terramancer and stuff like that. Or, like Magda, which I think the turbo version runs too. But yeah, this is a card that can fit into a lot of those unique style decks and kind of not send them over the edge, but kind of bring them up to speed with everything else.
Yeah, this is like my experience of this is that like if you aren't on like Cradle, this is a good way. You're not keeping parity with like Rock Thras, but while two of your opponents are like tutoring for lands every turn, you are able to make sure that you're not
falling behind,
like left in the dust.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
2 mana, you get 2 mana back pretty much on that turn cycle. You might extract additional value for it, and then who knows? It might neoform into something else.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I think for me, this card is a great example of why I think Bant is really well positioned right now.
And this is not a good example of why Bant is really well positioned right now.
You would do better things at green, like Heartwood Storyteller.
Stop it. The world does not need to know about that card. This is a good segue into this Reddit post, which we picked up, and I think really there's just a title kind of encompasses it. Like, do you think cEDH is in a healthy format, or do you think it's in a healthy space right now?
Okay. We'll give our answers on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. I didn't know that. I was expecting that, but I didn't know for sure. I love where cEDH is right now.
Yeah, I feel like I can play many different decks to success, be competitive with a lot of different ones, whether it's Glarb or Rogsai or Blue Farm, or I see TNT win games. Like, there's a lot of partner commanders floating around, but that doesn't mean that the format's unhealthy.
I did not give TNT the respect it deserved when it first started coming to play.
I still hate that deck. I still don't think it's that good.
I want to say
on the tier list of decks that are competitively viable, it is square in the middle for me. Okay, like that's what it comes down to, and like the thing that I dislike most about it is the hype. Like, this deck is back now that Dockside's gone. Like that whole conversation. Okay, it's fine. Like it's gonna win games. It's gonna win tournaments. Like it's fine. But like, does it do anything special? No, not really. And then but aside from that, cEDH feels great. Like we're having fun playing it.
I do. We were talking about this earlier. I do miss some of the speed we had this time last year, but I think that like the format has, life finds a way. And in all the tournaments that we've been playing, I think energy levels continue to be like high. People are having fun. Most of them have had like just tons of people playing games both before the tournament and after, which to me is a good indication that like even after people have spent 48 hours in this like intense your life's on the line,
people still want to play.
Like they just because they just want to play more Magic.
I can't get enough.
And it's not like people are playing like random like cubes or like draft. They're now they just want to play everyone else's deck that they played against in the tournament prior.
Yeah.
I think that we're still like TNK is still really good. Kinnan is still really good. Rock Thras is making a name for itself, but we're seeing like new cards. Like no one was talking about this town ain't big enough like 2 months ago. No one was interested in Song of Creation. I
think the rate at which we're getting new cards that are viable is pretty good.
Yeah.
Despite the product fatigue from Magic and all of those things that like we used to worry about when we played casual, because we'd have to keep up with every set and worry about like, you know, are any of these cards going to go in my random zombies list and whatever. Like we don't have to worry about that anymore because like the cards just straight up are not powerful enough. But like the rate at which we're getting new powerful cards is pretty solid.
Yeah.
We're getting like, you know, between 2 to 5 cards per set. And like if that's 2 to 5 cards per every 2 months, that's like not that bad.
Yeah, I don't think
pretty
that's bad at
digestible.
all. And it's definitely not like, oh, every week, you know, now Bray is good and then now Trax is good. Like we don't have, I think, volatility that people might correlate with like health, because I think people might assume that a healthy format allows for this ever-growing ecosystem of things getting stronger and things getting weaker, which I do think we have, but I think people may associate that with like every week there's a new like top dog, and that I don't think is the case.
Yeah, and you're not seeing videos from us that are like, this new commander is breaking the format. Like it's
Yeah.
it's not how we do things, because we're not. That's not the reality of it. If you look back at our videos, we talked a couple weeks ago, probably a little over a month ago now at this point, about Rogthras and how that deck is like on the rise. And it's true, it was on the rise, but it didn't you know, Kool-Aid Man through the wall and like start winning every single tournament. Like it's not happening. Like it didn't even happen with Nadu. Yeah. Right. So the format is flexible. It does adapt quickly, but like it's not unsustainably fast and chaotic. It's pretty stable.
The decks that are really strong right now, like TNK isn't an oppressive deck. It's just more than likely better than the one you're playing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you can't cast spells because there's a TNK at the table. It's not that I don't get to do anything because Kinnon's here. It's just that other decks oftentimes,
it's just better at doing what it needs to than other decks.
They're just going to get there before you. And so if you want to be playing like you know, off thinking of the meta specifically as like the top like 5 or 6 decks right now, then you just have to like really have your shit together in the brew space and be prepared to like play your ass off.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I personally don't see the kind of evergreenness of TNK or Kinnon or some of these other household names as a sign that the format's unhealthy. I do think that earlier in this year, I think that there was a lot of frustration specifically around some tournaments that had extremely high amounts of draws. But I think the community responded in what I would consider a healthy way, which is a lot of people going, I don't like this. And then tournament organizers responded in an equally healthy way. Well, let's try something new. And then now I think we're seeing like relatively quickly an adjustment to the rules with the 20-minute cap in a way that I experience a really positive kind of like trickle down effect of in the tournaments I've been to where it's been implemented. And so for me, the fact, I don't think a format being healthy means that it doesn't have problems. I think the fact that we had some problems, the big ones bubbled to the surface and then were taken care of within like a season, right? Like for the most part over the course of spring.
We're in Fortnite season 20.
Like I think that's a sign that it's like healthy.
We're going through these eras of like Rogthras dominance, and then all of a sudden that's kind of shifting towards Yoshi Thras and Tevish Thras and things like that. And then even before that, it was like TNT was everywhere. And now we're not seeing TNT as much. And before that, it was the Dockside era. And like we can all put like pins in the timeline of these things that are happening, but they're not like jarring transitions except for the bans. But you know, aside from that, like I think the format's feeling good. I was just reading through these comments while you were talking, and like the first 2 upvoted comments are from Reddit are no. And I think kind of a good barometer of whether we're on the right side of history or not is whether we agree with the cEDH subreddit. No offense to you guys, but like I think we're playing in a lot more tournaments than the average cEDH player. And our part of the reason that we make this content is we're trying to have our finger on the pulse of what's going on, what it's like to feel, you know, what it's like to play cEDH at these tournaments, talk to the top players and figure out what the real problems are, what's going on and stuff like that. I don't see Datatog being talked about on the cEDH subreddit. Where's the turn order position issue? Like where's that? It's no TNK is the strongest deck, and like that's not, you know, that's not what that's not my favorite deck. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a competitive mindset.
Yeah. I think specifically because our interest is in not just watching the tournament scene, but playing in the tournament scene, and beyond that, trying to like have like a place with it. And like, we're not shy about this. We want to be the best cEDH players.
Yeah.
And we definitely are not currently, and so we want to find a way to make that happen. And so we'll talk to other players. We'll play
even
these
Jason,
games.
he sucks, dude. He's like number 4 or whatever, and like that's
yeah. Clarifying, when I said we, I specifically meant me and Logan.
No. I meant Jason. Like, dude,
Jason, keep it up, big dog.
like it's him, and then I don't know who's 3, and then it's like Sam Black, and then Evan, and like. Those guys are way better than he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could really stand to learn a lot from Evan Freedom Waffle Pierce.
Yeah.
But like, no, to be serious, like TEDH or tournament cEDH is just a different game than cEDH. And like, yes, I understand there's problems with cEDH as a whole at casual tables and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like we see things a little differently, and we probably will forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe it's worth putting a finer point. I think TEDH is in an incredibly healthy spot right now.
Yeah.
And then
we have problems to solve, but that doesn't mean that like, you know, things are all bad.
Yeah. I think the way that we are solving problems is in like a pretty healthy way. From my perspective, still being relatively new to like the Magic scene.
We have to be careful about changing things too much too fast, because that's when things start to really spiral out of control. We're not able to recover from those changes and really assess what knock-on effects those changes have, such as banning 4 cards pseudo randomly, and then you know, like, oh well, you know, Rhystic Study's your problem now, and then like
kind of disappearing into the night.
But like, we need to be careful about doing those things, especially moving on. We need to learn from the lessons that we have learned in the past, and you know, we just have to be careful. Yeah. Take things slow, but you know, things are moving in the right direction.
You know, either play Rhystic Study or play Druid of Purification. It is one of those two.
And maybe you'll win that game, maybe you won't. Who's to know? And we'll say we warned you.
Yeah. I think that's our last tab.
Yeah, we do want to revisit very quickly. Please check out our first event, the first in hopefully a series. Mortal Kombat 1.
Mortal Kombat.
Which is leaving the door open for more events, hopefully.
Could be you. You could come to Denver. You can take the train to the event.
Oh, yeah. Dude, public transit's right there. We're working on hotel room blocks with Dave and Buster's. They've already got some good relationships established there. It's going to be a full event, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Our goal is for it to be just like all the other 128 person tournaments you've been to, but a little bit better, because we're there and you're there at Dave & Buster's.
And when we lose, we'll be drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, Erica's really throwing back those pretzel bites. K.
Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking with us. And that's this week's episode of Keeping Tabs in cEDH.
Keeping tabs in cEDH.
Keeping tabs on cEDH.
Keeping tabs from cEDH.
Keeping tabs on top of cEDH.
With tabs keeping cEDH.
Goodbye.